Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Pitt River Nutrition and Recipe class. This morning, my name is Jacqueline Thompson, and I'm presenting this class this morning. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can start the presentation. One moment, please. Okay, here we go. So our topic today, we're going to be talking about our featured recipe, which is a high protein, plant-based breakfast. And we'll be talking about the health benefits of this recipe, some changes to match individual health needs and tastes, alternative uses for the main ingredient of this recipe, which is soy or tofu. And we'll talk about the health benefits of soy. And some of them are listed here, with soy being very high in fiber and a great source of protein. It is one of the highest protein sources of protein. It is cholesterol free and low in saturated fat. It's a good source of folate, selenium, and omega-3 fats, and also rich in antioxidants and another plant compound called phytoestrogens. Okay, so this is our recipe, and my internet is very slow today. I'm going to attempt to play through the presentation. If it's too choppy, then I'll resume the actual play of the recipe after we go through the rest of the information. So if I could get a little bit of feedback, perhaps once it started, if it's playing okay, that would be very helpful.
Jackie, the video is not playing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just one moment, please. Okay, then I will go back to the actual slideshow and we'll come back to the video at the end. And that way we can play it just through the internet rather than through the actual slideshow. Okay, so we will return to this in just a moment, the video. Okay. There we go. Are you able to see my screen? No, okay. Okay, how about now? I believe you can, okay. So apologies, my internet is running very slowly today. I had a feeling it would not play the video through the actual slideshow, so we'll come back to that. There's also a link to the video in the recipe handout that you received. So that's the direct link to watch the video, if you'd like to do that afterwards as well. So some of the other helpful benefits to, I'm trying to get this to go away. Some of the other helpful benefits to soy, um, as I mentioned before, on the first slide, we have these properties, the fiber and the protein, and low in saturated fat, cholesterol free, and sources of these substances here. And other health benefits of soy include some of these listed here. So they do have properties to help improve blood circulation. They do have effect on insulin use in the body. And so in that way, it can be helpful in managing diabetes. Also helps with bone growth and development. And this is due to the high level minerals found in soy. So we have zinc, magnesium, calcium, selenium. These are all minerals found in soy in high levels. And the way that going back to the insulin, the way that affects insulin is that it helps the body create more insulin receptors. And so when there are more insulin receptors, it helps boost the activity of insulin, which is the hormone that helps to pull sugar out of the blood and into the cells for energy. So that's how it's helpful with diabetes. And with sleep, it helps to support sleep because of the high level of magnesium. It does help in terms of lowering well, the magnesium is helpful for muscle relaxation and in promoting sleep. And so it kind of helps prepare our body to go to sleep in that respect. And with pregnancy, soy is high in folate and B vitamins, essential B vitamins that are very important in pregnancy to prevent some birth defects like neural tube defects. Okay, and the phytoestrogens and the antioxidants that are found in soy, these are plant compounds that have been shown to have significant impact on lowering risk for chronic health conditions. And these include some here, cardiovascular disease or heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and cancers. And studies have shown that with more plant foods in the diet, it can also help support brain health and lower inflammation. Now, with the cancer piece here, I'm going to go back to this slide. So one of the older pieces of information that used to be, well, is still quite prevalent actually, is the idea that soy contains something called phytoestrogens. They're plant-based compounds that look and behave like estrogens in the body. And so in the past, it was thought that consuming soy, because they contain these estrogenic compounds, that they may increase the risk of estrogenic cancers such as breast cancer. And more recent studies have actually found that what happens is these plant compounds that look and act like estrogen in the body, they actually take the place of estrogen by filling some of the receptors, the estrogen receptors around the body. And so they look very much like estrogen. The body believes them to be estrogen. And so it fits in the estrogen receptor in the cells. And by doing so, it actually decreases the level of estrogen created by the body. So there's more and more research now showing that higher consumption of soy actually lowers the risk of estrogenic cancers like breast cancer. Okay. So this is a summary of some of the things we were just talking about. So we talked about the insulin receptors in the body. We talked about the estrogen levels in the body. Soy helps to support the bone growth by the rich minerals that it contains and by reducing inflammation with the antioxidants and phytonutrients found in soy. And before we get to the actual video of the recipe, there are some tips here about moving toward a plant-based diet. And you also should have a handout on this information. And some of the tips here are to start gradually and maybe start with foods that you're more familiar with. For instance, some examples might be pasta-based dishes or noodle-based dishes, or that can be made without meat and substituted some plant-based product instead of the meat. Same with things like burritos or tacos. Those are pretty simple and easy swap outs. So those are some, starting with foods that you're familiar with and starting gradually can be very helpful. Stocking up on healthy foods. So when going to the grocery store, having a list made up in advance of what healthy foods you'd like to purchase to include in these recipes that you might be making at home. Planning the meals also can be very helpful in terms of creating the grocery list and knowing what to shop for, and then limiting the purchase of other things that may or may not be used before they expire. Replacing some of the animal ingredients with healthy plant-based foods, as I mentioned. And there are lots of different alternative uses for soy. So the recipe that we're going to view today is a breakfast recipe using soy. But soy can be used in many ways. Can be used, for instance, in smoothies. Tofu comes in different consistencies. So there are tofus that are very more liquid and pourable, kind of like a cream consistency, and those are called silken. And those can be used in shakes. They can be used as bases for sauces. And they can be combined in other recipes. Oftentimes they can be used, for instance, in place of dairy in different recipes. So that's one idea of using them, or actually two ideas of using them. But there's multiple uses. So all different types of recipes, breakfast recipes, desserts, dinners. So it's actually quite versatile. And the type of tofu that is in this recipe is called firm tofu. So they come in different consistencies. The silken is more liquid. The medium is not quite as firm. It's a little easier to mash. And then the firm tofu is the one that's typically used for things like stir fries, or if you're going to prepare it that it's in perhaps in strips or in pieces in a recipe, taking the place of an animal protein, then typically it would be the firm consistency that's used. And this website here, this URL, is a place that you can find more information. This is just a summary of some quick tips and tricks. And this website has more information with more comprehensive examples of how to go about that. Okay. So let me see about going to the website now to play the recipe. One moment, please. Mm.
So what we're making today is sausage and eggs. I know, doesn't sound vegan or plant-based, right? But this, trust me, is a plant-based version and it is delicious. So what I have here is just a package of extra firm tofu, and I prefer to get organic because then it's not GMO, and then it's, good clean tofu. I've got an 8-ounce package of mushrooms, one medium red onion, one red pepper, and about 2 cups of packed spinach. And these are all things that have protein in them. And then there's going to be a second part for the sausage, but we'll just start on the tofu first. So I already have my pan and it's heated, and I put a few tablespoons of water because we're just going to water saute. I'm going to put in my onions, peppers, and my mushrooms. And I'm going to get those cooking just a little bit. I'm going to let them cook down for about 5 minutes, and then we'll add the tofu. This part's kind of fun. You just get to just break it up with your hands. I've already drained it, so we're just going to crumble it up a bit with our hands. A little bit messy, but that's what makes it look like scrambled eggs. And I know it doesn't look like scrambled eggs. It will look like scrambled eggs. It will grab a towel here. Okay. Now we're going to mix in the spices. And I have a teaspoon of smoked paprika, a teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of onion powder, and a half teaspoon of pepper. Just get that all in there. And that's going to give it more of a color scrambled egg. As it cooks, it'll just cook more and more of that color into it. Okay. We're also going to add our spinach. And we're just going to let this cook down for about 10 to 15 minutes. Just so all of the liquid is cooked out of it. Because there's quite a bit of liquid that comes off of the spinach and the mushrooms. So we will just let this cook, and then we'll start on our sausages. I already have here a bowl. We're going to need a mixing bowl and a potato masher. And if you don't have a potato masher, you can just squeeze chickpeas with your hands. We just want them lightly squished. Don't want them super pulverized because then it's too creamy. You still want to have a nice meaty texture. So I have 2 cups of chickpeas, which is about 1.5 cans. Put that in the bowl. And we're going to smash them a little bit first. Okay. Yeah. And now I'm going to add a tablespoon of tomato paste and 1/3 of a cup of arrowroot powder, or you can use potato starch or tapioca flour. It's about the same thing. It's just going to add some body to it. And then this is 5 tablespoons of vegetable broth, low sodium vegetable broth. And then I have here a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a teaspoon of basil, and a tablespoon of onion powder. We're just going to mix that up gently first. And then the secret ingredient goes in. And this is what's really going to make it taste like sausages. Other than the smoked paprika really gives food a meaty flavor. That's meaty flavor. Okay. What I have here is the secret ingredient, and it's fennel seeds. But you don't want to put your fennel seeds in whole, because when you bite into it, it's a little bit too much fennel. So what I like to do, I don't have a mortar and pestle, so I just use a measuring cup that's really hard, and I just smash them a little bit onto a plate so that it gets some of it broken up. And you could, I suppose you could put it in a little spice grinder and just gently blitz it, because you don't want it super powdered up either, because then it gives your sausages just an overwhelming fennel taste. It'll just overpower everything. We just want them a little bit crunched. I'm going to put them in there. And I already have my oven preheated to 350, because these are going in the oven to be baked. Okay, you can see that about how it should look. Move these things out of here. And I have a cookie sheet that's already lined with parchment paper. Just a half. Because this is so just going to grab a bunch, again, a little bit messy, make it into a ball. So make 8 balls. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to use another piece of parchment paper on the top to squish it down. And this is just, if you use something else like the bottom of a cup, it really just sticks too much. And then you end up pulling half of your ingredients away from the little sausages. You want to keep all that goodness in there, right? Okay, there we go. Now we're going to stick these in the oven for about 25 minutes. Okay, we're back. Sausages are done, if you can see these. They look so delicious. And if you flip them over, they look even more like sausages. So the eggs are done, and we're just going to give a little bit of spritz of Bragg's liquid amino acids. And this is a really great tip, is this little spritz bottle, because it really controls how much you put on there. So we're just going to put a few little light spritzes on there, stir it in, and that's going to give it just a slight salty taste without adding a ton of sodium. So, oh my goodness, I'm so hungry. Great, go on there. And for even more protein and some fresh fruit, blackberries and kiwis are some of the fruits that contain the highest amount of protein. So we're going to pair that together with our sausage and egg breakfast. One sausage. Now it's all down to the taste, right? Woohoo! Sausage. Delicious. Some eggs. Fantastic. Whether you're an athlete or if you're just concerned about getting enough protein when you've changed over to a plant-based diet, this is a sure way to pack in some extra protein into your day. So hope you like it. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment below, and I'll see you next time.
I would like to just show a little bit of the recipe that was there. One moment. So the recipe is listed here, and you have this in your handout. And this recipe was really focusing on the egg dish. The vegan sausage that is listed here is an option if you feel adventurous and might like to try it. Right now, with the cost of eggs, oftentimes eggs are something that people might gravitate to for breakfast food because they've been a cost effective, good source of protein. With the rising cost of eggs in comparison to the cost of a brick of tofu, there's quite a difference. Eggs are selling as much as, over $8 a dozen now in some areas, and the bricks of tofu could be $2 or less, depending on where you purchase them. So it's a good cost savings there, and still a great source of protein that is free of cholesterol, unlike eggs. And one egg contains 295 milligrams of cholesterol, which is very close to what the recommended daily limit of 300 is currently the recommended limit. So if you think about it, 2 eggs is going to be close to double what the daily recommendation would be. So this is, as I said, free of cholesterol. The liquid aminos, this can be found in most any grocery store. It's pretty widely carried now, and it imparts a slight salty taste. It has a salty aspect to it, but it's actually very low in sodium as compared to using salt as a seasoning. So it's another way to improve the health profile of the recipe by lowering the amount of salt. Okay, so I'm going to stop there here. Okay, and okay, so that concludes our slideshow presentation and the content of our class today. So we'll go ahead and conclude the recording and then open it up for questions for those in the room.